In this error hunting section, we'll review the 5 most common errors found in nav mesh editing. Some will make your map unplayable, while most will simply make the game run poorly or give you teleporting bot syndrome. Once you analyze your mesh, sometimes you'll still be confronted with the map as unplayable box. Analyzing makes maps run more smoothly, yet won't fix mesh errors. To begin, we need to see what's causing this error. So open up your console. In the console, look for bright red text. Some of these can be ignored, such as this invalid counter-terrorist spawn point. And what you want to look for is the ones with flow. And here's one. Initialize flow distance. Cannot reach start area from end area. Flow is not valid. This error means that there's a gap in your mesh somewhere, and that the bots are unable to find their way to the goal. This is caused 2 different ways. Either your mesh is not set up with the right flow attributes, such as start to checkpoint, checkpoint to checkpoint, checkpoint to finale, and player start to finale, or there's a gap in your mesh. To find this error, bring up your necessary nav attributes. svcheats1, navedit1, zdebug1, and zshowflowdistance1. Now let's begin by making a trouble report. So nav trouble. Nav trouble report orphan will find all the orphan squares that are not connected to your main nav mesh. If your map is not built correctly, you'll find that your entire nav mesh will be highlighted. If this is the case, then you need to review how you made your checkpoints and nav attributes. If you don't have your mesh selected, then chances are you just have a big gap in it. When you look at each square, it will show you the Z flow distance. And it will give you 2 values. The first is the position of the current square on the total distance, while the second value is the total distance. If the total distance is set to 9999 or negative 9999, then chances are you have a gap in your mesh. Mesh squares that have the attributes such as this one mean that they're not connected to the total mesh. The easiest way to find this empty section is to simply fly around your nav mesh until you find some squares which have the correct attributes and work your way back to the player start. So,
we're almost out of here. Grabbing peels.
You can see the first number is not 9,999, so this is correct. Up here. Let's just keep walking back. 8. And you can see here's the gap. With a little bit of exploring, we found the gap in our mesh. Place a walkable point and generate the necessary squares. Once this is done, save the mesh and start the map again. Now that we have the square, let's save it. And restart the map. Since we didn't analyze, we still have this. Once we restarted the map and checked the log, we noticed that we no longer have that flow distance error, and our player start has a proper value for distance. See, it's set to 0. Before we analyze the mesh, it's a good idea to play through the map and make sure there are no areas where the bots get stuck or have poor aim. So let's just play through it really fast. And the director is still turned off, but we'll just use our bots to determine where the errors are. card seems to be good. Checking this. Nope. Here we go. Here's an error. Right away at the player start, sometimes you'll notice that a zombie will actually spawn in this table.
Hey, there's weapons over here!
This is because the table does not properly carve out the player start like it should. Now, let's delete this square and place it on top of the table instead.
First aid here! Ammo here!
And reconnect them. Okay, so let's keep on looking. See the players. The bots seem to stop right here and then teleport up.
We're almost out of here.
If we look, you can see the blue lines that are going through the stairway. This means that there's a connection between the two squares that really shouldn't exist. We can see the familiar blue connector, however, it connects through the railings. Connections such as these will make the bots get stuck and must be corrected. So let's just delete these squares. Draw a new one. Oh, another gap in our nav mesh right here. Let's restart the map again. Save. That way we can just quickly spawn back in the bots. And since we know that the nav mesh is pretty good up to about right here, we can just teleport the bots right here.
I'm gonna grab this hunting rifle.
Woohoo! Some first aid.
Okay. So far they're going up pretty
Finally,
good.
you see that? We're almost out of here.
Here's another nav mesh square, and it's in the middle of this prop, so we need to delete it, or else it'll spawn the infected in the spots.
Pills.
You can also look down and review the blue connections to make sure that they connect fluently through your campaign.
I'm gonna need these.
And I can't get the bots to follow me over here. But if you notice that there are no squares over here, and when you generate a nav mesh, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it will miss areas. So when we get into this area of the map, we notice that the bots begin acting crazy and they won't follow us over. This is because we have gone into a section that's too far away from the nav mesh and the AI is unable to find where we are. Let's fix this error by placing a walk area and then generating it. Doing so will delete the bots, so again we'll have to save and reload. But first, before we do that, we need to make sure it's all connected. Here's a ladder that's now broken, so delete this. Looks like it's connected properly at both ends. Let's make sure that I'll place a connection here. And save it. There may be many more errors in the nav mesh. However, following these rules will help you find them. Like making a map, a finished nav mesh takes a lot of time and effort. The best way to find errors in your mesh is to play your maps often and repeatedly. By walking through your maps time and time again, you'll find these errors and work your way to a finished piece. A nav mesh is never completely bug-free, so it's important to remember that it's best to concentrate on the biggest issues. Left 4 Dead's AI can adapt to small errors in your nav mesh by teleporting the bots, so it's not imperative that you solve every single issue in your mesh.